Okay, morning everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. Sorry, I'm just not feeling the best, but we're gonna get the stream done. So thank you guys so much for joining, and yeah, hope you guys are having a lovely weekend thus far. How are we all doing today? Hey Miko, hey Cameron, thanks for joining. Jason, hi Fran Garcia. Hope you're well. Start Reinders or Tiago. I'd probably still start Tiago, my friend. Best midfielder for 7 million. Uh, are we just talking? I mean, I don't have any cookies now. But yeah, in terms like if we're saying 7 million, I still probably would say long term maybe Njaya still. Like, of course, keep in mind that he does go towards AFCON, so that is worth a future transfer. And someone's gonna say, why do I care about a future transfer? And to be honest, your answer might be correct. Um, but yeah, I think if you ask me flat out, maybe even Reinders is up there too. Because his minutes still look absolutely fantastic, and I don't think there's much that's going to change there. I'd also probably put Matoma up there. So those are kind of the picks that I would say for me are some of the best sevens. Kudus as well. These are all the picks within the cheat sheet, so it's not like I don't think you should expect that I'm going to change my mind on that. But yeah. Hey, Fran, good afternoon. Who should I bring in the place of SAR? 3 million in the bank and only one free transfer. So you got 9.5 million. It's a bit unfortunate because you can't quite bring in, like, let's say a Palmer this week, right? And it's not really worth bringing in a Foden. Hmm. I mean, I think this is still a good game week to go for Bruno potentially to just jump on the run of the next 3 games. But if you don't really want to go Bruno, and I get a lot of people don't, that's fair enough. Like, I am definitely seeking out Defcon. Um, hmm. One of the issues, I guess, is Brian Mbowe does go towards Afcon himself. I'm trying to see like what midfielder I think is best in that sort of position. Like, I probably think you should just go Mitoma. Start with that Tottenham fixture. It's a good game. It can't really go wrong, or can it? Minte as well. I think in a similar position in terms of you start with a great game, and if you don't have him already, like I mean, probably Semenyo is the most logical transfer. Where's chat gone? I've just lost chat. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully you can still see the team. But I'm just gonna go quickly find chat again. Thank you guys so much for joining, by the way. Please feel free to like and subscribe. That really does support the channel. But yeah, let's just go quickly through some comments. But Robert TG6, thank you for being a member for 11 months and being a manager. Best defender for this game week before wildcard 6, one free transfer, enough funds. Okay, so you're just basically asking for a 1 week punt, right? Um, can the answer is Virgil? Can it be Virgil? I think it. I think it almost is Virgil. Like, Virgil has some of the highest clean sheet odds on offer this week, and is a bit of a def corner. Still has some goal threat, as we know. I really think it would be him. I think Munoz is also quite interesting, just because it's West Ham. Lacroix not too far behind either. Like, those are probably my preferred picks. I don't think there's anything that anyone that much more exciting, if I can say that. Rohit, thank you so much for sending a chat in. Should I start Porro or take a chance with Murillo? I would definitely just, to me, I feel like Murillo's not going to be risked if he's not ready to play. Like, I think it would be a bit absurd if he wasn't fit enough and he was just going to come on as a sub. I could be wrong about that, but I almost think that that would tempt me to just play Murillo and then have Porro as an auto sub. Um, hey, Fran, big dilemma in the wild card: Reinders and Lacroix or Njai and Anderson? I'd go Njai and Anderson. Yeah, because I think Njai sort of matches Reinders' best fixture next week, anyways, and then after that is probably a bit of a stronger pick. Do keep in mind though that Njai could get a price drop, right? I think just looking at the price sort of momentum, um, it seemed like he was quite capable of getting a price drop. So something to think about, right? I wonder. Dubravka, King, Gehi, Calafiori bench boost or not? I'd probably risk it. My only concern is, does Josh King actually start this match? Um, so yeah, I think it's all right. I'm not sure. Like, I think I can tell you Calafiori will play, which will be good enough, and maybe he can actually sneak a clean sheet before Arsenal lose it. Like, that's possible, right? If he's a sub. Gurki's good. Dubravka's good. It's just King that I have a question on. Should I play bench boost with Strand Larson on the bench? I probably wouldn't. I think he's coming off the bench. What game week do we get the 5 AFCON transfers? You get 16, and they don't tally over 5. So if you need to basically guarantee that you've spent all your transfers before game week 16. Does that make sense? So let's say if I go to game week 15, I got 5 free transfers on game week 15. I need to spend all of them, to be honest. Hi, Fran. Need a little help here. Bench 2 of these. Bear in mind you've got Wood plus Murillo, Tarkovsky, KDH, Reinders, and Stev. I'd bench Tarkovsky. I'd bench KDH. I'd bench. Actually, I probably. Hmm. I'm trying to think how bad Tarkovsky would be if you think that he can guarantee DEFCON. But is it even worth the risk whatsoever? I don't think so, right? Because it's like, hmm. I still think Reinders is a touch better than Dewsbury Hall. Not by much. They're all very, very close. Uh, hmm. I'd probably play Reinders. Um, I'd probably play Reinders and I'd probably play Estef, and I'd call it a day there. I think Dews, like, intuitively, I'd have Dewsbury Hall still um, at the top of my bench. Play two, Consen, Jai, Larson, Van de Ven. I'd play Van de Ven and Larson easily. Um, Scott McLeish. Hi, Fran. I need a little help here. Bench 2 of these. Bear in mind, I have Wood plus Murillo. Oh, sorry, I've already answered that question. Good day, yep, sup. Alexander Pates, Captain Wirtz or Rogers? Probably Wirtz if you really want to do it. Joey AV, nice to see you around. Joey, nice to see you. Thomas, hi, Fran. Would you start Due for Porro? I'd probably start Porro. Kudos Santiago to Caicedo and Waltermat or roll my 2 free transfers? I'd easily roll. I don't even think that's an upgrade necessarily. On wildcard 6, should I still use my free transfers to take out Murillo or just hold? I would sell Murillo on a wildcard 6 easily. Yeah, I don't think I would hold him. Yep, 2 questions in terms of private chat from 2 members. I'm just going to quickly have a look at Discord briefly and answer that. Robert TG says, would you hope that Murillo starts, have Goodmanson off the bench, or just free transfer into Munoz/Lacroix, already have VVD? I actually think Murillo plus Goodmanson off the bench is really, really good. I think you can just chill from that. I think the Leeds match this week is actually decent, right? Like it's pretty, like, I mean, Wolves away, like, you can't really go wrong with that. I personally would actually just roll the free transfer. Dewsbury Hall or Tarkovsky start 1. I'd start Dewsbury Hall. Who would you captain from Holland Wood Semenyo? I'd probably still chance it on Wood, if I'm honest. Hi, Fran, how are you feeling? You looked a bit sick during the cheat sheet. Yeah, I'm not feeling the best, but we're going to get the stream done. Thank you guys for joining. Why am I bench boosting? Why wouldn't I bench boost? Just playing players, good goalkeeper, good first sub, auto bench. The other two, well, to be honest, it's Thiago still has good expectations on this match, and then Dewsbury Hall's a dud, but I don't mind adding a 2-pointer there. Most bench boosts have at least one fraudster, and if Dewsbury Hall is my fraudster, I don't really mind. Basically, if I look down the line, if I go game week 7 with the same team, right, or game week 8, I think I have worse benches. Like Dubravka has worse games on 7. Like even Thiago, to be honest, has like worse fixtures. Because I think he's got City at home, which is like, I mean, look, it's probably just about the same. Paquetá has a really bad game on 7 because he's against Arsenal away, so that's not nice. On 8, I've got a bad Dewsbury Hall fixture, a bad Anderson fixture, and maybe that's a good Dubravka game, but I don't think it's not a better bench boost to me, or it doesn't scream like that because it's literally Anderson versus Gyökeres too. Where I think like one thing you need to think about is like, okay, if you have someone playing versus another person, if it's an extremely one-sided matchup, in my opinion, then it's not a great, almost like counter matchup. But if you're bench boosting and it feels like both odds are quite probable, so let's say like an attacker scoring and a defender actually getting points, I think that actually makes for a better bench boost because you don't really know which side of the probability like that, like a game scenario is going to fall. Whereas if I suddenly bench boosted and I went, let's say, Paquetá versus Arsenal or Anderson versus Arsenal, like I think on most situations I'm not going to really get a net benefit from the bench boost. Whereas this week I actually think it's still plausible. Outside of like if Dewsbury Hall is my worst pick, unfortunately he's going to be my worst pick as well on, let's say, Game Week 8 versus Man City away. So, and then on 7, I've also got Paquetá doing something quite similar, right? So, what I almost compare on those types of weeks is who's my best first bench, and then who's my best, and is it even a good Dubravka game week, right? Because that's the baseline. Would you go Hall to Sar Tottenham? Who's Hall? I'm so confused here. Lewis Hall to a midfielder? Kind of lost. Is there any other Hall in the game? Oh, Dewsbury Hall. Okay, sorry. That kind of that tripped me. I wouldn't go Dewsbury Hall this week. I'd probably go for him on a wild card though. Yeah, I'd consider it. 100%. Yeah, sorry. I was actually just loading up Discord, so ready to go. Just quickly checking my Discord chat with the private chat. Um, so Otto, any advice on this bench boost? One free transfer, 3.2 million in the bank, captain, sell Elliot, skip bench boost. I would actually play Elliot. I actually think that bench boost is fine. I'd roll it personally. I think that's a good team. I think you can relax with that. Protagonist, be beyond your cap. Do I go with it? I don't think I should use my one free transfer. I can see your cap. I'm not sure if I love it, but I hope it works out for you. I think it's close between Spenyo and Gakpo as well, in fairness. So not too much to say about that. As far as the bench boost, I mean, it's a better bench boost than mine because it's basically Reinders versus Dewsbury Hall. I would just chill as well. I think that's great. Yeah, I think both of you guys have the right track there. Monks, thank you so much for the super chat. Hi, Fran. Start 2 between JSL, Porro, Estev, and Murillo. I would easily start Estev and Murillo and then have Porro auto sub first and then JSL second. Just because I don't see JSL starting. Bench 1 of Pedro Porro, Kukure, and Rodon. Probably. Hmm. That's actually a pretty tough one. I'd probably bench Kukurea, as shocking as that could be, just because the others can actually get defensive contributions. I know instinctively, like not like someone wouldn't really want to do that. I wouldn't say that's for sure that I would captain over Yok. I think if you're confident that Yok's gonna get dropped 90 minutes, I'd probably make him my captain. Um, so for me, it's like, where do you lean with the minutes in terms of Yok? Like if he drops a full on 90, I think he's the best captain. But to be honest, I think Semenyo is like the one that I would go for in most cases. Um, Start Elliot Anderson or Reinders. Anderson easily. Bench Bruce Sanchez, King, Consa, Van de Ven. Yeah, I think that's worth it. Once again, it's the King issue, right? But if you want to get away with it, just try for it, because it's not like for example, if you own King, there's really not a better opportunity to bench boost down the line, so you might as well just risk it this week. Otherwise, like, what are you trying to do in the future to fix a Josh King on the team and trying to bench boost? It's tough, right? Poro, Senesi, Reinders on the bench. I'd probably put Senesi way ahead of Poro and Reinders this week. Um, what do you think of Wood this week? I think he's solid. I mean, for me, like, my perspective on Wood is, you own him for the next 2 weeks and you sell him after that. For sure. Like, you just have to pencil in that plan. Richarlison and Dorgu, keep or sell for who? I think Richarlison's perfectly fine this week. He should be playing. Dorgu, I mean, if you need to play him, then yeah, maybe you can sell him. But actually, I think if you can keep him for like the next 2 games, Dorgu's pretty solid. Start Kudus for Gyökeres. I'd probably start Gyök still. Lucas says Fran is still deciding if playing my bench boost. Dubravka, Steph, Goodmanson, and Gu. I'd use to Gu for another 6 and wildcard 6. Muniz versus Thiago versus Welbeck. I don't think Muniz is necessarily even going to start, so do watch out for that. Hassan, thank you so much for the super chat. Pick two of Van de Ven, Poro, Reinders, and would you buy Moises Caicedo for Reinders with one free transfer? I would absolutely not do the Reinders move. I don't think it's worth it at all. First of all, Caicedo's game isn't that amazing, so I think it's so much better for you to actually roll a free transfer into your wild card, because rolling a free transfer into your wild card allows you to have like, you can keep it nowadays, right? So when you get towards wildcard 6, and you're probably actually to keep Reinders in your team on wildcard 6, that's my personal opinion. I would go for Reinders on wildcard 6. Um, you would have two free transfers in the future to fix whatever issue you have in your team. In terms of picking two, though, I would probably just back double Spurs. The reason why I would back double Spurs defense is, even though it's not a great game for Spurs, it's Brighton away. I think the benefit is when you have two defenders, you're almost seeking the same outcome in your team, and that already improves the value of the play. So I would definitely just play the Spurs defense in this case, and then bench Reinders. Best of luck this week, though. But I definitely would recommend rolling. I don't think I said it was that strong. I know he scored 2 goals, but basically my answer is I don't see Caicedo dropping 1 goal per 2 games, right? As a season long thing. Morning all. Hi Brundle Fly. Start Williams or Stev. I'd probably still start Williams. Am I crazy to play Mukiele from Sunderland over Reinders, King, KDH? No, you're not. I think it makes a lot of sense. Sunderland actually have a pretty good match again. And honestly, like, the defensive contribution baselines from Mukiele and Alderete and even, Reynaldo are really, really strong. So if you want to go for it, go for it. And Bemo captain, the underlying numbers are there. I don't think he's a crazy captaincy shout if you're not going to go Salah, right? The underlying numbers have been amazing. Dubravka or Sanchez for game week 5, or does it not matter? I don't think if you're asking me whether it matters because, like, are you expecting them to do like massively different on expectations? Like, no. But I'd probably play Dubravka. How necessary is it to bench boost? Replace my injured star to bench boost? No, I feel like if your team is really struggling to get a bench boost off, don't bench boost. It's just that in my case, like, why would I not, right? I've planned for it. I've reached this point without injuries. I, you know, yeah, I don't see the point for it. Try not to spam chat, guys. Everyone deserves the chance to ask their question the one time round, and I'll try to get to everything. Raya Dubravka in goal. I'd probably still play Raya. Like, oddly, the clean sheet odds are still better for Arsenal. They're shockingly high this week. But that's because Arsenal just look like absolute titans on defense. Jaime, what do you think about my wildcard team? Vicarious, Senesi, Porro, Chalaba, Palmer, Gakpo, Xavi, Caicedo, Semenyo, Holland, and Evan Nilsson with Dubravka, Calafiori. I guess like it does feel a little bit light on City because I guess if you come out of this game week, you probably want to have Reinders in your team, right? That's the only thing I'd say. I don't love Gakpo, honestly. I can understand people wanting to go Caicedo because of the sheer amount of points that he's put out, but I'd still probably pick Reinders to be honest over Caicedo at this moment in time. Porro as well. I don't think you necessarily need to spend that much money for him. Like I think I'd rather go for a Def Connor um, than spend money on Porro. And I would probably also rather go Tosin over Chalaba as well. Save yourself a bit of money. Like I would question like whether you can actually improve the team. The other picks I think are really solid, so I'm not really gonna complain too much. Like Holland, Evan Nilsson's probably the two. Like it's probably actually the like if I was to do a wildcard six video, yeah, I think it really could just be Holland plus Evan Nilsson. Only tricky thing when you double Bournemouth, I guess, is how you're going to maneuver some of the tougher fixtures like 10-11 being particularly poor. Like if you have both Evan Nilsson and Semenyo, it actually makes it a little bit difficult, but just something to think about. Raya Dubravka in goal. I'd go Raya. Hi, Fran. It's my 18th birthday today. Well, happy birthday to you, Bombstarks. Have a good day, everyone. You too. Why pick Paqueta? Penalties, small chance of DEFCON per match, small chance of open play returns as well. Nothing crazy, but when you add in all the probabilities of the stuff that he can do, that's kind of what makes him a good pick. It's nothing like, okay, he's like exhilarating in open play. Or like West Ham's going to get a lot of penalties, that kind of thing. It's just, I think the accumulation of everything makes him solid. And the West Ham fixtures are not that bad outside of 7 up until 11. So that's the idea. Our team is looking strong this week. Fair. If your team is my team, I agree. I hope so. Is there any early team news? Let me have a look into it. Can't say anything. Nothing that I can tell. What do you think about Pat Matsazar? I still think I don't like him so much. Like if you ask me for my favorite midfielders who are like 5 point, like 5 plus, 5 to 5.5, let's just say that. Yeah, like his minutes have actually been really good, right? So that's a huge positive. But I think the main thing is so far we're not seeing that he's like some sort of DEFCON monster. So the baselines for that aren't quite there. Yeah, I would say I think he's still worse than most of the picks in the game if he's going to be like an 85-minute player. So yeah, I would just choose, like I would still ironically choose Anton Stack just because of attacking returns. I don't really like Anton Stack's defensive contributions, but I also don't think that they're that significant. So yeah, something to think about. Like I'd say it's pretty close right now in my mind between Stack and Dewsbury Hall because Stack's actually getting some really good XG. Grinders or Williams, I'd play Williams. Start Tarko Saliba, I'd start Saliba for sure. I mean, honestly, the clean sheet odds for Arsenal like are that much better. They're just that much better. I believe they're what, something like 30% for Arsenal. Whereas obviously Everton, like that's the worst clean sheet odds on offer this week. So it's not remotely close from that perspective. So obviously it then becomes a case of like, does Tarkovsky get DEFCON or not? But then of course he has like an extremely high chance of, conceding like more than 2 goals, that sort of thing, right? On wildcard, have Timber, Pope, and Anthony, but haven't seen anyone talk about them. I think Timber is kind of an interesting pick in the sense that if you really think he'll perpetually start every single match and get subbed off at 70, like he's inherently got that sort of value there. But White is around the corner, right? And they're probably going to rotate a bit more in the future, where possible. Pope, I think, is fine. Do I really like Newcastle defense that much to spend? Like I mean, yeah, I don't like Pope. Um, I I I still prefer Petrovic to Pope, if I can say that. I would even still prefer maybe Vicario as well. But Pope is fine. Like Pope is fine for the, like he's not too far off what I think Raya's value is off of 5.5 when I compare it to a 5, right? Any Aston Villa leaks? Not that I can see. Obviously, that there have been predicted lineups for Aston Villa if you're interested in having a look at some of them, right? So Emma from Jump the Wave has probably accumulated a lot of the Aston Villa predicted lineups, and we can have a look at that too. So I guess what, like FPL villains predicted lineup was Watkins, Sancho, Elliott, Rogers, McGinn, Kamara. Obviously, like keep in mind they've got so many injuries, so that midfield does look like it stinks. But what can they do? Uh, he's he's got 50-50s on Dean Powell, so I guess irrelevant. Consa, Cash, team nailed. Martinez as well. But I think if you're kind of asking about Elliott, seems pretty positive, right? I actually forgot to set up my draft league, so I need to get that sorted. Spence a good pick at 4.5. I don't think so, right? Because eventually Udogi is going to start games of football. Um, and at the end of the day, I think Van de Ven's better. Like Van de Ven, for some of the attacking return potential and nailedness, is just flat out better. All right, I think all my draft leagues have been set up. Best 1 week midfielder punt. I would say a Brighton mid. Like I'd probably just go Matoma or Minte. Love when Fran is deep in contemplation, ignores us. That's right. At least you can tell I'm deep in thought, right? Bench boost with Tosin, Petrovic, King, and Rodon. Yeah, I think I'd still throw it out there. At the end of the day, it's a good Petrovic game because it's a home game. King, as I said, it's going to be increasingly harder to get a King bench boost off, and he might still be benched today, right? Well, is it even today? Um, yeah. So that's a possibility, but is it still worth throwing it out there because Fulham's run of games actually gets quite poor after this? Yeah, definitely, right? Because it's like basically 4 bad games in a row after this week, where I think the only value to having a Fulham player is just a Def Connor. So your next best like King opportunity might be in game week 10, and at that point it's too late. I would say like maybe Smith Rowe is already starting ahead of him. TBG, something I feel go. What's your free hit 5 team? Free at 5. Why are we doing free at 5? I mean, it probably would be triple Liverpool. Um, but Yeah, I mean, free at 5. Why am I bench boosting when my bench ceiling is low? I disagree that it's low. And also, like, I'm struggling to understand what do you think is a good bench ceiling this season? For the first half of the season, free at 5 seems like, yeah, I think free at 5 just sounds terrible. But yeah, I don't know, like Watkins, Mateta maybe, like Brighton mids, Matoma, Minte. But you'd also want to go like Liverpoolish, like maybe you'd actually go Virgil Konate if you actually think Liverpool can get it clean. I don't know if that's worth it. Aston Villa clean sheet odds are pretty good, so Martinez is there. Like, I guess I'd punt on Mitoma, Semenyo, Wirtz, Bruno Sala, Virgil Munoz. That sounds it. Something like that. Yeah. I just think when people look at benches, they always conveniently ignore the goalkeeper. So on some of the other weeks that look better on paper, the keeper is just a travesty. Um, I don't see like I don't see this as like a particularly bad game from Thiago going forwards. I think this is a good Senesi match, especially with the Defcons priced in. Um, and then yeah, Dewsbury Hall is an absolute dud. But as I've explained, in game week 7, I've got a dud. On game week 8, I've got a dud. And honestly, worst goalkeeping matchups. Um, and Mbemo or Foden on the wild card, I would probably chance. I'd probably just go. I'd honestly chance Foden. Why are people overlooking Vicario over Raya? Half a mil cheaper, better fixtures, and plays in a pretty good compact Thomas Frank system. So you're saying why people are overlooking Vicario, but then also whether you should have Arsenal players on your team when the Tottenham defenders are also a lot cheaper. I don't know. At the end of the day, Arsenal is just a better version of Tottenham, right? Or Tottenham is Arsenal light. So I don't think anyone's overlooking anyone, but you're also keeping a goalkeeper not for 5 to 6 weeks. You're keeping a goalkeeper for potentially 20 weeks if you go to wild card, right? Or even if you buy a goalkeeper. Like the point is not to have Arsenal versus City and Newcastle, but you're actually having Arsenal for City at home, Newcastle away, West Ham at home, Fulham away, Crystal Palace at home, Burnley away, Sunderland away. So like I mean, I don't even think that needs necessary argument. But I think I generally agree that both teams are good. Start Thiago or Tourette. Is that Truffet from Bournemouth? I'd start Thiago. Captain Lacroix versus West Ham. I don't think it's worth it. I mean, there's a lot of heads that a set piece can land on, so I wouldn't say that someone's nailed on to score. Do I think Rutter will play? I think he will. All right. If you're gonna ask questions in chat and you have an answer and you're gonna keep asking them, I'm just gonna time you out because what's the point? Would you do Dango to Njai? I probably would if I'm honest, but not this week. So I would just play Dango this week and then I would just go Njai next week. I don't think you necessarily need a Liverpool asset down the line if you're not going to go for a Liverpool asset now. Like you've kind of ignored them for some of the better games. So I'd probably just spend that money. Like, why could you go to Palmer potentially? Like, if you've got so much money in the bank, I would just go Palmer. Like, I'd never feel bad about owning Palmer as long as he's fit remotely. As a in week, I don't really like it because Martinelli's still around, and I don't think Eze's minutes are particularly good. Gus, thank you so much for the super chat. Would you bench boost with Njai and Tarkovsky? So I think that's slightly worse because it's almost like if I was to compare it to my bench, I'd say Thiago's probably a touch better than an Everton player. But I don't think it's the worst thing. Like once again, if you want to get the bench boost off, it's not always just about, oh, am I getting the absolute bench boost possible? It's also, oh, do I get rid of Thiago now? So that means on game week 6 I can get rid of him, or I can move to a 4.4 forward in the future. So the value of a bench boost is not always just okay. What is the best theoretical bench boost if everything was to land perfectly for me as a manager? It's also, this is the game week where I have a lot of players playing. There's not going to be an issue with them. I see myself moving towards a 4.4 forward in the future. Is there value in actually using the bench boost now? So I would probably still consider the bench boost, yeah, if it aligns with your plans. Murillo to who, 1 week punt on bench boost. Oof. Does that mean like we can't spend more money than Murillo? Because I would have said Munoz if if we were close, right? But Virgil, I guess, is out of reach. But Virgil's my favorite pick. Um, has Murillo dropped in price as well? I guess Lacroix makes a lot of sense, right? It's still West Ham. Pray a little bit for set pieces, and I think you'll be in a good spot. Dubravka, Senesi, Elliott, and Lacroix bench boost. I think that's great. It's probably better than mine. Captain Palmer, he banged with Brighton last year with a high line. Same against Amram United. Uh yeah, that Brighton high line last year was something special to see. I think because it's an away match, I wouldn't do it. Hey Fran, the Terminator says, "Hey, have we got any early Liverpool team news?" I No, we don't. I probably would. I don't want to just recommend selling McAllister, but it's kind of worth it. Thiago Trufe, yes or no? I'd say yes, as I have already said. Rodon or Milenkovic? I'd play Milenkovic still. Um, Try not to use emojis because I'm not going to respond to them. Sorry, guys. It's just easier for me to respond to messages if you don't use emojis. Part of the chat rules. Start due for Estev. I'd start Estev easily, just for Defcon plus clean sheet. Say you decided to buy a Forest defender for next 2 weeks, Nico or Milenkovic. Probably I'd go Milenkovic still. Reinders or Xhaka this game week. I'd play. I'd probably actually play Granit Xhaka. Start Thiago Van de Ven or King. I mean, there's no other week you'd ever play Xhaka over over Reinders, right? This might be the one. Did I see your milestone chat? I'll have a look at it in a second. Sorry about that. Wirtz the Palmer makes a lot of sense for me, even though this is a good Wirtz week. J Wavy, thank you so much for being a member for 13 months and being a manager. Thoughts on not transferring out Murillo? Yeah, I mean, I think if you're not bench boosting, I can see the value of not transferring him out. If you are bench boosting, then I probably can see the value of transferring him out. Does that make sense? Njai Mateta? Mateta for sure. I'm bench boosting. Yep. Start Esteve Romero. I'd probably start Esteve still. Would you bench boost with Dubravka, Reinders, Esteve, and Dewsbury Hall? It's not the best, but I think I would just about do it. As I said, if it goes well with your plans, I would definitely consider it. Give me a sec as well. I'm just gonna quickly check whether there's any potential news. Because I'm kind of curious. Not from what I can see, at least. All right, back to chat. Start Sinesia Anderson. I'd probably start Anderson. I just think it's a better matchup, right? At the end of the day, like Newcastle's a pretty competent team. Why bench this week and not on double game week? Because there's an extremely unlikely chance of there being a double game week this season that actually impacts your bench boost for the first half of the season. So we get two bench boosts this season, one for the first half, one for the second half. Even if we had double game week 16, you're only really gonna have like 4 or 5 players, and your bench is not gonna have a double. Like you're not gonna have. Well, maybe you will have like two of the double game week goalkeepers, but that seems super unlikely to me. Yeah, just being honest there. I think Yeah, this is a perfectly normal bench boost. Start or bench Kudus and Bemo Gakpo Reinders. I mean, I just bench Reinders quite easily. Bench boost worth it. Dewsbury Hall, Senesi, Stev Dubravka. I mean, that's literally as close to mine as you can get, right? Yeah, I'd go for it. Should I start Murillo with that knock or start Estev? I'd probably start Murillo and just hope Estev auto subs because I personally think yeah with a knock like why would you risk a player to be a sub if that makes sense, you know. In terms of news, I can't really see anything too interesting. Do you think Murillo plays? No, I mean I actually don't think he does. But this is why I think I would just start him and then hope for an auto sub. But if you're bench boosting, I'd probably transfer him out. I transferred in Hwang Chan thinking he's a differential. Why isn't he in any predicted lineups? Because he's never been nailed for this Wolves team. Like, and they also signed a new striker. So, yeah. Senesi or Munoz? Munoz. I mean, these are top options this week, by the way. Would you captain Holland or Gakpo? Probably Gakpo. Milenkovic defense on your bench. Should I start him over Anderson, VDV, or Richards? I'd start him over VDV. I don't know about Richards and Anderson. Are there any Liverpool leagues? Not that I can see, unfortunately. I'm just going to quickly have a look at some of the final odds this week. So yeah, Arsenal clean is like third, well, fourth best actually. It goes Liverpool, then Villa, then Fulham, and then everything's very close between Forest, Wolves, Leeds, and Arsenal, and Crystal Palace as well. The rest are kind of duds when it comes to clean sheet odds. In terms of projected goals, actually remote decently high for Arsenal, United, Chelsea, and Brighton, and then obviously Liverpool's like far clear of the rest. Captain Watkins or Salah? I'd still go Salah personally. Start Dubravka or Sanchez. For me, Dubravka. Would you not play Thiago over Gabriel? It's a bench boost, but no, I wouldn't. Just because of clean sheet odds, because of Thiago potentially reduced minutes. Like in theory, I guess Thiago could be ahead of Senesi and Gabriel if I thought he was going to play 90 minutes for sure. And if he does, then fair enough. That's probably the right decision. But just given that we've seen a 72-minute sub now, you know, maybe worth reconsidering. Um, Start Richarlison or Mbemo? I would start Mbemo. Home game, I would take that chance. Wirtz and Alanga out for Premier League and Cement or Palmer and Semenyo. I think that's great. Yeah, I would definitely back those moves. Is buying a Forest defender a bad idea for the next two game weeks? You want to sell Kukurea? I think so because I think the next two games for Kukurea are okay. Like United is mediocre, but then if you think about it, like Forest itself, like using a free transfer isn't great. Forest is just a bit tiresome. Like I would just go Kukurea. I mean, the Brighton game could actually be a huge game for Kukurea. start Williams or Porro? Williams. Don't have Salah. Would you captain Semenyo or Virgil van Dijk? I'd captain Semenyo. Akshay, hey, my defense is Gabriel VDV, Tosin, Senesi, Calafiori, Raya's goalkeeper. What changes between rank in a wild card? Oh, I see. Okay. I don't know if I'd go Calafiori in the wild card, to be honest. I probably would just go. I get that you're trying to spend as little money as possible. I don't. I don't think Lacroix is a crazy shout on the wild card. Um, yeah, because Calafiori is actually like quite a fair bit of money, isn't he? And you don't really want to go triple Arsenal defense, and you're going to force to play some of them versus City. So I'd rather just you go Lacroix on the wild card and enjoy the West Ham game and have a bit more rotation down the line if you're going to go Gabriel and Raya. Why bench boost now? I mean, we have to bench boost once in the first half of the season, right? And this is like if you think about the Dubravka games here, this is one of the best Dubravka games we're going to get. Forest at home, that is. The next best one is Leeds at home or Wolves away or West Ham away. But like I just don't want to hold Thiago or Mateta, for example, that much longer. I really want to move into a 4.4 forward. I want to maximize the use of my funds. So the later I delay the bench boost, the more I almost spread the value of my team onto benches. And that's not ideal for me. And as I was kind of explaining previously, yeah, I mean, either I bench boost now or 7 or 8, and I still think my bench boost looks better now. And inevitably, issues will crop up, right? But I don't want to spend free transfers trying to fix a bench boost. Like you can see some people in chat today, and obviously this is not because of bad planning. This is just the nature of football. Like you have random injuries. Like people have Murillo who now want to transfer out of Murillo for a bench boost or for a dead end into a wild card. Like I completely get that. That's unfortunately the situation. So for me, if I can guarantee that the bench boost looks good on paper now, and it's maybe like 0.2, 0.5 points off my best theoretical bench boost, I'm okay with that. I'll live with that because in the future, it just means that I have the flexibility to not carry 8 attackers. Salah, thanks so much for the super chat. Play 2 of Tosin, Rodon, Spence. I'd probably play Tosin, Rodon. Just because you can actually get defensive contributions with the other 2 picks with Spence. I mean, he could still be an earlier sub, right? Which is not ideal. What to do with McAllister? I'd probably just sell him, mate, honestly. Especially since he's not even like super match fit. I think the concern is always going to be like, how many minutes is he going to play anyways if he's going to play? Is it too risky bench boosting Murillo? I think to an extent. I don't think the comments were very positive, if I'm being honest. I would probably sell him on the bench boost, but if that's going to, send you into the minus, then maybe you do have to reconsider the bench boost. David Mansour. Hey Fran, Anderson, Senesi, Munoz, choose 2. Yeah, I just play Munoz and Anderson. Oh, dude, I would just play bench boost, to be honest. I know the bench boost in Game Week 8 is better. Um, but hmm, it's a better Dubravka game, right? Still. I guess it depends on, well, to be honest, Leeds are a pretty blunt offense. Yeah. West Ham actually have an okay-ish game, right? I'm just thinking about the Diouf match. Brentford at home is quite nice. I guess you can wait for it in your position. Bench Porro Senesi? Porro for sure. Would you captain João Pedro? No. Thoughts on starting Gabriel? I mean, I'm starting Gabriel. I would have started Gabriel for sure, actually, this week. Um, just because, like, from my perspective, backing double Arsenal defense is probably a good way to getting returns in terms of, like, hoping for a good positive Arsenal outcome in my team, right? Arsenal clean sheet odds is crazy. Must be the highest against it in years. You're absolutely right, Ted. Like that, you're on the money there. And that's because Arsenal just are that impressive, right? Would you play? And also City. I think even though they've had some okay results so far, like smashing United, smashing Napoli, at the end of the day, I still think City haven't been that impressive. So there must be some sort of accounting of that. Paquette or Elliott. Well, as a transfer, as a playing this week, I'd probably still play Paquette, just because of nailed minutes. Am I on bench boost? Yes, I am. So that blue hue, the blue and white hue is like over here is basically indicative of the bench boost being active. Hi, Fran. Is Semenyo a good captain? I think he's a solid one after Salah for sure. I think like all the captaincies after Salah are actually pretty close. Like if we're talking Gyökeres, if we're talking Semenyo, if we're talking even Gakpo, if you think that he's going to play like really good minutes this week, Watkins is up there too. Like all of those are very close. Even Mateta, if you think he's going to play a lot of minutes, but maybe Nketiah comes in, right? A Josh King bench boost. I think my thoughts on a Josh King bench boost is actually, even though his minutes could be pretty precarious, you actually kind of need to force the Josh King bench boost now, because I can't see him starting every single game after this game week. Like if you see every single week, his minutes just get reduced by a sliver. So I can't imagine that it's going to be that much better by game week, like I don't know, 10, which is like the next best Fulham game, right? Sorry, Fran. Is free at 6, wildcard 7, bench boost 8 a viable strategy? I guess my only question is like, is there a lot of synergy between free at 6 and wildcard 7? Is like, is the idea there to get rid of the city players? Like, what are you gonna do in a wildcard 7? Are you going back to city players? Because I almost think like, why not wildcard 6 then, and then just bench boost on 8, and then save your free hit for a rainy day. Poro out, Lacroix in. I don't think you need to necessarily sell Poro, but if you want to, like as a long term pick, I think Lacroix is better. Play Paqueta or Senesi. I mean, that's kind of what I did with my wild card, right? Like I took out my Tottenham players, although of course Romero dropped an absolute great game. Play Paqueta or Senesi. I'd still play Paqueta, but I can understand why people really want the Def Connors. It's just that I think Newcastle understandably reduces the clean sheet odds a lot. I have no Bournemouth. Are they good long term? I think they're very good long term, but the Bournemouth still have some bad games coming up, right? Like their 10, 11 games are tough. So you don't necessarily need to go like full on Bournemouth. What's my free hit strategy? Either go free at 6 or save it for, a rainy day. Rainy day being, okay, is there a potential double game week 16? Is there a potential bang game week 17? That's kind of what I mean. Am I bench boosting? I am. Semenyo Mateta captain? Probably Semenyo. Yeah, because I think if you're getting in City, then just wildcard 6 and save the free hit. Is Semenyo must have? I personally think he's not. Like if I was to free hit on 6, I might not even have Semenyo. I know a lot of people think that's crazy, but I don't think Leeds away is actually that good of a game. Holland or Semenyo captain? Probably Semenyo. Estev or Dorgu? Estev for sure. Evan Nilsson or Waltemad? I would go Evan Nilsson just because of nailed minutes. And also, I just think there's a lot more confidence in terms of Evan Nilsson's minutes. Like Waltemad right now is still sort of playing like 70, 75 minutes. It's not good enough for me. Why not bench boosting Gaming K with a better fixture? I don't think I do have better fixtures. Like I will have in Game Week 8. I mean, let me just illustrate what my team would like, what my bench would be in Game Week 8. Having said, I probably would do 2 transfers, right? So that's something to think about as well. Yeah, like I think my bench like on Game Week 8 would be Senesi vs Crystal Palace away, which I think is a worse match. Probably better for Defcons. I think Thiago, actually that's a great game, so I'd definitely start him. Dewsbury Hall has a bad game. I know that for sure. Yeah, City away is actually pretty mediocre as well, but a touch better, I guess. Anyways, Anderson is a bad game. Yeah, he's got Arsenal at home, so that's like my bench would be Anderson, Senesi, Dewsbury Hall. I don't think that's necessarily any better. So why not just get the bench boost off now and just get rid of it basically. That's basically my logic with it. I just think that sort of Senesi gap is pretty large too. So like for me, it's like from an expected points perspective, I guess it's like what 0.1 ish or something like that. Probably worse if I'm honest. Yeah, I just think that when I look at it now, Thiago and Senesi are a lot better than, let's say, Anderson and what's his face would be on that week. I wouldn't say Thiago because he does play West Ham, but it would be even Lacroix, for example, because I'd have to play him versus Bournemouth, right? But I'd probably, yeah, maybe it's still Senesi, I think, who actually sits there at the end of the day. So that's kind of why I want to just get rid of the bench boost now. I don't think it's any better in particular, and I've never rated Nottingham Forest much, so yeah, I don't think, like, let's say the gap between like Leeds and Forest is gigantic in terms of clean sheet odds. It's probably slightly better for Leeds, slightly, but not like massively. Liverpool league lineup. Watkins gap I think is interesting. Um, Let me see if I can find anything. Fortunately, I don't have anyone DMing me Liverpool leagues. Oh god, that's the deadline. Sorry about that. Good luck. I wish everyone a great game week. Hopefully, no some sort of crazy Liverpool like Merseyside derby cancellation. I don't need that in my life. But yeah, I'm gonna try to recover. Hope you guys are well and have the best game week. I'll see you guys soon. Take care and goodbye.